Is there anything as the year winds down that you find particularly on your minds? What's been, Dennis, what's been happening for you? What's on your mind as we wind down?
So, John, there's actually this story that I really want to talk about, and I feel like it didn't get a lot of airtime in the news. And I'm an immigrant myself, and I feel like there's so much talk about, immigration and the so-called border crisis. And there's so many important stories that kind of like really get lost in kind of all of the fear-mongering that's going on. And it is about these kids called documented dreamers. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yeah, isn't that DACA? That's
So it's not actually DACA. So DACA dreamers, they come to the U.S. with their parents who are undocumented, and there are these documented dreamers.
Right.
And they move to the U.S.
You said documented dreamers.
Documented dreamers.
No, that I am not familiar with that.
Right. So I'm an immigrant. I grew up in Turkey, and in order to survive in America, you kind of like need to learn a lot about immigration. So
different sodas. It's important that you understand the various brands when you're
yes. I recently found out about this group of kids. They're called documented dreamers, and they basically moved to the U.S. with their parents who are on visas. So they come here on visas. They're here legally.
So they're here legally.
Yeah, they're here legally.
But they're kids.
But they're kids, and they usually come here around like the age 5.
Okay.
And basically what happens is that they're on this thing called a dependent visa until they turn 21.
Okay.
And the idea is that, the parents are here for decades. During some time, their visa is going to turn into a green card. They will have permanent residency, and they'll be allowed to stay in America.
Okay.
But because of our archaic immigration system...
How dare you?
I went there.
Dennis, how dare you? And so close to Christmas.
I know. And look, love America, archaic immigration system.
Yeah.
But basically, we haven't, this country hasn't updated its quotas for green cards since before the internet. So the last time we did that was like early 90s.
Is this a yearly allotment of green cards?
Right, yes.
Okay.
And basically what happens is because of the backlog, and also there's certain visas. For example, if you're an immigrant here on a small business visa, you can be on it forever, but there's no path to a green card and to a citizenship. So because of the way immigration is structured, once these kids turn 21, they cannot be dependent of their parents.
No.
So
I know where we're going here.
I know.
Can I guess the ending? Spoiler alert.
Yes.
So when these kids turn 21, their parents have yet to get their green card. They're on a dependent visa. So they are at that moment no longer legally living within the United States.
Yes.
Fuck. At 21, they've been here since they were, let's say, 5. What happens, Dennis? Please.
They have to self-deport.
Dang.
Jeez.
Dang.
Yes.
Can I just jump in very quickly and say, I really thought when I said, "Do you have anything?" I thought it was going to be White Lotus finale. I did not know I didn't know we were going deep.
No, I remember Dennis saying something about Chuck Grassley and his involvement with this, and there was like a picture with some of the kids in that organization. Like, you know what I'm talking about, Dennis?
Oh yeah. So basically, there are more than 200,000 kids right now facing deportation in the United States, and 10,000 deport every year.
All who have been on dependent visas, 200,000.
Yes, and 10,000 deport every year. And you would think the government doesn't know, but they know. So Chuck Grassley met up with these kids in May. He took a photo with them, talked to them about this. So they have this nonprofit called Improve the Dream. It's a bunch of documented dreamers, lobbying for legislation.
Right.
He took a photo with them and then tweeted it out. And guess what? One of the kids in the photo is already deported.
Dang.
Dennis, are you suggesting that Chuck Grassley may be somewhat hypocritical in his stance here? Are you suggesting in any way, shape, or form that Chuck Grassley, who is now, he has killed more immigration bill. Like Chuck Grassley is the single worst senator of anybody. And it's so crazy because he's the one senator who's probably I mean, look, I'm not talking out of school, just talking actuarial tables, leaving this earth and this country sooner than almost any of the other ones. Like, but he stops it. Why was he meeting with them to just disappoint them? What, do you have any idea what the meeting was about?
Well, the funniest thing is there is bipartisan support on how fucked up this is.
There has to be. This is nuts. It's nuts.
Exactly. And they all agree. And there are actually 2 bills introduced. There's one in House and one in Senate. It's called America's Children Act. And
wait, it's the ACA?
I guess so.
Oh my God.
Maybe that's why.
Everything is the ACA in this country. All right. So it's the American Children's Act.
Yeah. And, it has bipartisan support. Like in the Senate, Rand Paul is behind it.
What?
I know.
Wow. All the Avengers are coming together.
And the idea was, outside of the act, that this would be included in the defense bill.
Okay.
And it was not.
Which just passed, the NDAA.
Exactly.
Right.
And it did not pass. It was not involved. Yeah.
Wait. So it was not included or it got taken out?
So there was a hope that it would be included.
And it
There
was
like,
not
there-
included.
It was not included, yes. And now it might be in the omnibus.
Knowing how the NDAA works, what happened means is somebody used that as a bargaining chip to get something else. Somebody said, well, if you want that, then I'm taking out the ACA for documented immigrants because everything down there is, well, then those 200,000 people have to suffer if you want that.
Right.
Because we can't fix everything because that's just who we are.
The NDAA is actually, it's really bad. So a lot of people know we did an Afghan episode.
So Kasaun is talking about the Afghan translators who helped the troops when they were over in Afghanistan. We've left like 100,000 of them behind, and we were supposed to have the Afghan Adjustment Act, which makes them eligible to come here. Now they are all on the run from the Taliban because we left behind all the biometric analysis. Sorry, guys, we forgot the biometric analysis, and they know who you are.
I don't know why, but it seemed like every time we put out a clip from the show, within the hour, Herschel Walker would come out and say something dumber and dumber. And so we had to be like, truly, we would put out a clip being like, we made a promise to these people, our translators, and we got to take care of them. And as soon as we put out a clip saying that, Herschel Walker would be like, I saw vampires in my sleep last night.
You're saying he's there specifically to draw attention away from
100%.
the SIV programs.
100%. So when you look at No One Left Behind, which is a great organization that tries to help our translators get out. And
That's right.
we talked about the SIV program, and you look at the NDAA, and they tweeted out all of the ways that Congress failed our Afghan allies. The SIV program,
Again, supposed to be in the NDAA, along with, I guess, this other program as well.
obviously Chuck Grassley's in the middle of that. They struck out on a provision that would extend the Afghan interpreter's eligibility, wounded in combat.
That's
took
right.
that out.
Which has to be renewed, I think, I don't know if it's every year or every 2 years, but it has to be renewed. And this is the year that they just decided not to renew it.
Yeah.
They took out a provision that would reimburse the troops who were actually using their own money to help their interpreters get out.
What the fuck do you think they get for that? Like, what is the horse trade there? What is was it something that Chuck Grassley said, hey man, I'll give you whatever, we're going to legalize pot, or we're going to make it so that we decriminalize it. But then if I give you that, all those Afghans who helped our troops, fuck them. Is that what trade could they possibly be doing?
Here's the best part. In the statement about the provision not being added, it obviously says the agreement does not include this provision. Mm-hmm. And then right after it says, in the statement, we acknowledge the incredible heroism and professionalism of these members of the armed forces who participated in the United States transition out of Afghanistan and are grateful for the Afghan nationals who supported the United States military in Afghanistan.
Wow. That's so much worse than just saying nothing.
Yeah.
Thanks, though.
It really is one of those hey, man. So it's like if somebody is trapped in the bottom of a well And what they do is, so here's what we've decided to do. Pull up the rope without you. But in lieu of the rope to pull you out of the well, we are going to say to you, we do appreciate you being at the bottom of it.
Here's a Home Depot gift card where you can buy your own rope.
Guys, this was the end of the year episode. I thought we were going to be having some uplifting anecdotes. And instead we're failing a good 400,000 vulnerable people that we could easily fucking help. Easily. With almost, it's the lightest lift a country could do. It's nothing.
You care too much about the world for us to have a truly uplifting. Like if you didn't care about the world, we could just talk about rom-coms all day. I'm fine with that.
Oh, I'm fine with that too.
This is crazy. Deniz, is there anything we can do about this? All roads lead to Chuck Grassley, obviously,
yes,
on all of these things. So I guess going after Grassley is probably, he's the linchpin.
Absolutely.
The cowardice on the SIV and the Afghan programs, that's expected because I think, underlying prejudice for people from that part of the world is overwhelming to this day. And it's the easiest thing to excise because terror. But Deniz, the situation that you're discussing seems incomprehensible.
Yeah, and the thing that I think about is Republicans love to say, do it the right way, get in line, get in line.
And this was the right way.
This is the right way. Right now, for an Indian immigrant with an MBA, the wait for a green card is 150 years.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
150 years.
Yeah. And I think they love to make it about the border crisis and all of that stuff. Everything is about legal immigration. Refugees are about legal immigration.
Yes.
This situation is about legal immigration. It's a big system. They don't want to address it. And they're just saying, to be quite honest, racist stuff.
It's pathetic.
Yeah, it is pathetic.
It's pathetic. And when you say to somebody, how long do I have to wait for a green card? 150 years. You have to do it in quotes. You just have to go oh, how long do I have to wait for my green card? Oh, you'll get it. 150 years. The wait is, it's 150 years.
Yeah. Come to this country the white way and get in here in 2175.
Come to this country on one of those specialist visas because we need your expertise. And chances are your kids are also going to, do quite well. But we're going to ask them to leave at 21.
Self-deportation as a concept is crazy.
Yeah.
I always say, I pay taxes. And I'm I don't even get my own ICE agent. I have to self-deport. That's just kind of crazy.
My taxes, they don't even pay for me to get driven to the airport to get the fuck out of here. Unacceptable. You know what? I can tell during this conversation, when you guys first started, you looked young and vibrant. And I can tell even in these 15 minutes, it's wearing on you. This process has already started.
I can feel the gout coming onto me.
I also want to say this is the first year that I started having grays. I have 3 grays.
Is that true?
Here. Yeah. I turned 30 this year. 3 grays here.
Deniz, this is the first year I've had them too. I don't know what happened. So I'm sure they won't be coming on hard.